Hey everyone, welcome back to another MSP live chat from Ninja RMM. I'm Jonathan Crew, I'm Director of Content and Community at Ninja, and I've got a ton of wonderful folks with me here. I see that folks have been in chatting away already, which is awesome to see. So good to see some familiar faces here too. We got folks from New York, from Canada, bonjour, and from Montreal, and we've got all over the world really, which is so cool, and familiar faces. So for those of you who this is your first live chat, just really quickly before we introduce the guests and get to some awesome content to share with you guys, first of all, we are recording this. So if you have to run and jump or you want to share this later, we'll be sending out an email that's going to have links to the recording, links to a bunch of resources, including this Google Doc that I'm going to drop in the chat right now. And this Google Doc we call it an agenda. Our calls always go off the rails. They don't follow this agenda to the T. But this has a ton of links to it. In this episode, or this session specifically, we've got a lot of good deliverables to share because we're going to be talking all about equipment. I mean, the guys that I have, the folks I have here on the screen have been doing a lot of really cool stuff with video this year. And they're going to get into all that and the equipment they use. They're going to have links. So if you're feeling the bug and you're getting creative, you can go out and actually buy some of this stuff too. You can see in the chat, this is an active place. This is as much for you guys to connect with each other as it is for you guys to connect with us. Definitely feel free. Don't be shy. Jump in the chat. If you have a question down at the bottom there is a ask a question option for you. So if you use a question there, you can make sure it doesn't get lost in the chat. We'll make sure to address it. And then check out the polls. So we dropped some polls in there, and you guys are already answering that. That's cool to see, and that's going to give us some discussion prompts for later. But with all that, why don't I introduce some of our guests here? And Heather, I think I'll start with you. Heather Harlos from Bitdefender, everybody.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and Heather has been doing some really cool stuff at Bitdefender. Specifically, you've launched a series called Beyond Awesome. You want to talk about that for just a second?
Yeah, so when everybody got stuck at home, I was thinking, like, how do people get to know each other? So not necessarily about business, but just giving tips that people can use in their daily life. So me and our VP of Cloud and MSP got together with this show where we bring guests on and literally they just talk about who they are, something interesting that people may not know about them. And then based off of that, I throw a question at them that they don't know what's coming, where they give a tip that somebody could use in their business life, personal life, any of the above.
Awesome. Yeah, it's great. It's an awesome series, and you've been very consistent with it. And they always look great too. So we're going to get into your setup a little bit later. So awesome to have you here. And you're contributing a cool prize, which we'll get into. Yes. I should mention that. Why not right off the top here? One of you lucky attendees is going to walk away with your own streaming kit, and that's going to have a Logitech Stream Cam, a Blue Yeti microphone, a ring light, and a cool tablet for doing some awesome stuff that Heather's been experimenting with. Next, let's go to Georg. So Georg Dowderman, president of Valiant Technology based in New York. How's it going?
Hey, John. Thank you. Great day. Thanks for having me today here on the stream. Looking forward to going over some of the video and some of the stuff we've been doing for the past year as we've been home. And it's really exciting. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Really happy to have you here because Georg, MSP owner, actively out there, or should I say in there, selling virtually.
Right.
And it's been so cool. So you guys, I'll go to the doc in just a second and point out some of these resources, but you guys have, back when the pandemic started kind of in March, you decided to do some more video. I'll let you tell the story. I won't steal your thunder. Yep. But it's very cool to see what you've been doing and to see some of your equipment. You've got a blog post that you shared recently to share some learnings too. Yep. So really good to have you here. And we'll come back to your story in just a second.
Yeah, it's good. Awesome. Thanks.
Awesome. Because we're also going to talk about virtual selling. And of course, that's something that you're actively doing. And once we segue from the equipment rundown and geeking out over all that good stuff, we're going to go into some virtual selling tips and you're going to be awesome with that.
Sure. Thanks.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Georg. And then here he is, the man himself, Wes. Wes Spencer.
Hey, it's good to be with you.
Yeah, CISO from Perch also turned YouTube celebrity. Is that fair to say now? Is that safe
I
to
don't
say?
know. That'll go right to my head. So call me YouTube wannabe. How about that?
Well, I did see. For those of you who you probably recognize Wes from, he's a regular on the Cyber Call, which is a really amazing weekly video series every Monday. It was put together by Andrew Morgan, and it's got Wes, Gary from True Methods, Ryan Weeks, the CISO from Datto, a lot of guys being regulars. You guys do really great stuff. And Wes, I mean, I think those guys would probably agree. You've got the best looking, crispest video out of all those guys.
I'm on video like nonstop all day. So I and I was just saying in the green room, I'm an old photographer. So I was able to kind of recycle some of the gear I'd already had invested in. So that plus all the YouTube and LinkedIn stuff I do, I just figured I would go all in and buy some good stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, well, you certainly you went all in, and it looks great. And what's really cool too is you've shared this, and so obviously we're going to be going over some of that stuff today. And then in the doc, you also have I've shared a link to the YouTube video that you recently published, where you kind of go into specifics for all this stuff. So very cool to see you taking things to a really cool level, and then also sharing how you did it.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're also going to have with us Ray Orsini from OIT, and I'm just we're working through some technical difficulties with that. Ray's got an awesome setup. You guys are probably familiar if you've been to other live chats. We've had Ray on a bunch. The OIT guys do a ton of stuff with video. They've got multiple video series that they do, including Tech Bar, their Partner First webinar series, and Ray's setup is certainly unique and very cool. He's actually on the road, which when I first heard about, I was like, oh, I can't believe that this is going to be the 1 week where he's on the road and we don't get to see his home setup. But that said, he's actually working things out. And so this will be a cool little experiment where you get to see how do you make things work on the road too. So with that, let me pull up the doc real quick. And again, I'm going to dump this link in here one more time so people can skip ahead, follow along, whatever you'd like to do. Although it's saying I've already posted this message. There you go. Yeah, we'll try that again in a second. So if you follow along, so basically what we wanted to do, of course, we're going to get to the awesome setups here, and you can skip ahead if you want to. We've got a whole chart of with links to Amazon so you can purchase these things. But before we do that, let's step back a little bit and talk about why we're here. And Heather, so you actually brought this stat to my attention. This is something that you've been working, you and the team at Bitdefender have been putting together sales training actually for your partners to use to help with virtual sales. And this is a stat that someone had uncovered. This is from McKinsey. Only about 20% of B2B buyers say they hope to return to in-person sales. So not only have things changed, are they going to go back to the way they were? For a lot of people, no, right? Do you want to say anything else about that stat and kind of what the discussion at Bitdefender has been about it?
Yeah, so we actually hired a gentleman, Mark Edwards, that specializes in whiteboard strategies shifted to virtual selling through whiteboard strategies. And that was something that when we did some research with him, we found. And I think even though all of us want to go, it's not that they don't want to see you personally. I really think it's a matter of, if you think back to pre-pandemic, how many dinners, happy hours, fill in the blank here, were you stuck in every single day versus getting to spend time with your family or pets or just doing things outside of work? I mean, it really was like a 7 to probably 11 at night job. And I don't think people are ready to give up the sort of free time that they've gotten back with their friends and family to start doing happy hours every single night. Now, that doesn't mean that maybe once in a quarter you can't make a visit, but I don't think it's going to ever be that daily, weekly, constantly in somebody's office experience that we used to have.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, this could kind of vary, of course, depending on your vertical and what types of customers that you're dealing with. There may be some that never stop wanting to be in person or to kind of have that connection. So obviously going to vary a lot in location, all those things. But yeah, I mean, I think it does signify that things have certainly changed, and they may not just be going back to. I mean, this is the trite thing by now, right? That they may not be going back to normal.
And I think, sorry, I was going to say, I think the other thing that you have to look at is how many offices have actually reduced sizes. So I know several of our partners are fully remote. So they may have a headquarters with like a single office space for critical meetings, but they don't have their sales teams and people going back to an office because they realized how much money they could save really by staying remote, and they didn't lose that productivity that they thought they would lose by having remote workers.
Yeah, absolutely. And Heather, I do want to. So all of us, of course, when we do a session here on video and audio quality, we're opening ourselves up. And we have Jay calling out that Heather, you have a bit of an echo. We were joking around. My video was cutting out right before the call. So anyway, Heather, you're totally fine. I think this is, but this does open up the fact that like, you know, our setups and what we do, like they're constantly improving. And what I want to do now is kick it over to you, George.
Sure.
And you can talk about talk about a little bit like your transition here, because you were telling me call last week, prior to the pandemic, you never made a virtual sales call, always in person.
Correct. I mean, I guess this traditional kind of MSP sales cycle of like, you know, first appointment, you go on site, talk to the prospect, talk to, you know, you kind of, let's take a look at your network closet, kind of like that classic. I mean, you know, I'm gonna knock down whoever did that network closet, that kind of thing. And, you know, and now what we found in the past year, you know, people are, you know, either coming from a different lead source to come much more as we focus much more on some inbound marketing, knowledge content creation, and then a lot of it, you know, working with our referral partners. And now it's much more about that conversation of like, hey, let's find out what's going on before both of us waste a lot of time, which sounds kind of crazy, but it's really worked. It was, you know, we've had first calls, and within 40 minutes, we're like, hey, this is not going to work for us, or vice versa, right? Or if it has worked, it's like, hey, this is really great. Let's go deeper into it. And we have a bunch of material kind of prepared for that call. We prepare differently. It's a lot less. It's almost more formalized how we operate from video. Like we have a kind of a playbook that we put together that I follow with the people in my team, and it really works because I think that you eliminate that travel time, you eliminate that on the buyer side, you're eliminating that time that they feel that they have to like carve out of their schedule for you to like come to their office, do all these things, you know, this person, you know, and I think that if they can feel good about it in that half an hour, and you pass that first, or 40 minutes, whatever it is, that first like kind of sniff test, they feel willing to go further and deeper and really open up more. And I think also that people are lonely, they want to talk. A totally different thing. Whereas in the past, you know, people were not not alone, and now people are kind of interested. They want to answer more opinions. So I think it's like a real change, especially for your MSP operators and owners now and salespeople, because it's not what it was before. I mean, the buyer's journey has changed significantly. So.
Yeah, I mean, would love in the comments here hear other people's experiences. You know, if that's lining up with what you've seen, George.
Sure.
And while we're doing that too, I want to bring up. So this is the post I was referencing. I'll drop a link. This is awesome. So first of all, anyone who's been on the live chats before has probably seen me reference your guys' site, because I call this up all the time.
Thank you.
It's a great site. And so this is your blog, and this is a post you put together around some lessons that you learned. And so this goes into some marketing stuff that you guys are doing.
Right.
But then this also is kind of like what's interesting to me is this is all kind of tied together into how you're approaching sales calls too. I mean, probably a chicken or an egg type of thing, right? I mean, the pandemic happens. You're not able to do in-person sales calls. You have to be on video all the time. So gradually you're going to think about what your presence looks like, what equipment you're using, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then you guys at the same time you launched your live streams where you're doing that every Thursday. You did one today, right?
We were doing it like 3 times a week at the beginning because we had no idea how we were going to drive new business. We were kind of in that moment of like, we don't have our normal kind of referral sources. Everything's kind of dried up. We were like, well, what are we going to do? Right. This is kind of like, you're like barbarian. I felt it was a barbarian at the gate moment for Valiant as a company, where we had to say like, okay, like we have to change. So we, Matt, who is our creative director, Justin, who's our CIO, Megan, who's our salesperson, and Marianne, who's our trainer, we all kind of got together and said, hey, look, why don't we just start putting content out there? We always wanted to do it. We were always deathly afraid of coming across poorly, right? Like it's like a stage fright of doing it. And much like anything else, like once we kind of got past the initial fear of like, just, hey, being a Nike, just do it kind of thing. Yep. We just started doing it, and we finally got some feedback, and we got good feedback, and we started just slowly or surely improving the quality, improving the writing of the live streams. We put more prep into it, and now we kind of pared it back to once a week. We tried some other experiments, once again, like fast experiments to see if it fails or doesn't. We did a traditional webinar with our GoToMeeting and those please sign up and register, and we found that the traction or the connection to the community was much more around the live streams because they were short, they had a lot of punch and they had a lot of content in them for a short period of time, and it just raised our profile and it allowed us and allowed me to feel comfortable doing stuff like this. Like a year ago, it would have been a hot mess, to say the least. Long point of sword on that one. Not that I'm the most eloquent guy, but I mean, it was definitely an evolution of learning how to do this in a way that even like simple things like when you're on video, like waiting for the other person to finish talking. Like it sounds like a simple thing, but like it's really hard until you've done it enough times. That sort of thing.
I would say 100%. And I mean, you look at all the people who are out there producing a lot of content, and the ones who are doing it good, doing it well in terms of video content, they're doing it extremely consistently. I mean, you guys locking yourselves in, or maybe you weren't locking it in with having that weekly cadence. Maybe there's some flexibility there, but I mean, kind of forcing yourself to say, okay, we're going to just keep on doing it. We're going to iterate. And it's cool. I mean, what I love about this post is I love that we have Wes on. I love Ray is here. Thank you for joining, Ray. It's good to see you. I'm going to bring you on in just a second. We have Ray and we have Wes here, and those guys, man, like your setups are amazing. Your video looks awesome. I think it's safe to say, for me included, you guys are aspirational in a lot of ways. Right. And then, and George, I mean, seeing you guys, like, this is a little bit more maybe of where people are at. I mean, this is where you guys started, right? Right. And we can see, like, you guys just had cameras on. You're just like, let's do it. And it's funny because we were talking before we went live here about, I think, Wes, you brought this up. At the start of all this, we saw this too with the live chats. There was almost kind of like, it was good that it wasn't too polished, right? Because like everybody just wanted to connect. Everyone wanted to like break down a wall and have it be personal. And I think there was kind of something new and good about that.
It was really exciting to do it, right? Because it felt that there's a freedom in just getting out of the way, if that makes sense. Like getting out of your own way and just starting and going. And, it's like that first step in the long journey kind of thing. And, I said, we've done this morning, we did our 61st live stream. And,
wow.
So we really put, it's been great. It's been great. We've learned so much from doing it.
I mean, check this out. So this is like, I love this like before and after stuff. So we got this before and we got some after. Look at that. And what's cool about this is you guys, obviously you have some equipment. I'm going to share in the doc. Matt, you were mentioning the creative director of Valiant, and you guys put together a streaming kit for employees. And so you gave them like green screens and basic cameras and nothing too crazy expensive. Right. But you've got the posters in the background. You've got your CIO with the virtual background there. Yep. You've got some better lighting. You're not sitting in front of the windows anymore.
Exactly. Exactly.
This is great. This is a cool evolution to see. And it's some good basic tips here that we can get into. Let's dive into your equipment though.
Oh, sure.
Really quickly.
Yeah. super simple stuff, right? It's like it was a pre-pandemic. This camera was our conference room camera. So just to even to give
Nice.
you more like it kind of like bootstrapping. I have a small dish ring light. I'm not even sure what model it is from Amazon. I see the two biggest things that was obviously having the Logitech camera and a good headset. And the other thing that was really important, as you can see, is on the little photo, is that I have a Logitech indicator light. Yes, the indicator light is the most important thing because kind of what you're talking about, the families coming into your room. This stops folks from coming into my office while I'm doing these, and my home office. I have 3 kids, and everyone kind of comes in, to kind of like, Dad, that kind of thing. And you want coffee? And if you watch one of those streams, you can see a hand come across. So that's like someone handing me a cup of coffee kind of thing. So I think that's important. Those are really great to integrate into all different systems of where you are. Imprava or Imbrata makes them. So a lot of this is just, once again, if you're going to do it with other people, we found that headsets was one of the most important pieces of it. Having good headsets, because the audio quality, if you listen to some of our earlier ones, I had a much lower cost headset. And this is not even a really expensive one, but that really changed the tone and just the sound quality of it all. So I would highly recommend that. And the other thing I'd say, buy a giant screen. The bigger the monitor, the better. And anyone tells you like 2 or 3 little monitors, I'm like, spend the money for yourself, buy a big one. It's a 32-inch Samsung, and it's worth every penny. I highly recommend that.
You go. This is also one of the reasons I was excited to bring Heather on too, because Heather has a giant monitor too. I want to give people a monitor envy,
Exactly.
I may have gone overboard, maybe.
What size is yours, Heather?
Mine's the 48-inch curve.
Wow.
Actually, let's skip ahead. Sorry, Tom.
Wow.
I'm going to skip ahead of you for a second. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, it wouldn't fit in the picture.
That's it. That's awesome.
It's amazing. Yeah. So Heather, let's talk about your equipment too. But before we do that, I want to go to Tom and George. Thanks again for that. And I definitely want to come back to you to talk when we get into. I want to hear more about your experiences with doing sales calls.
Sure.
But let's stick to the equipment for a second. And I wanted to bring back up before we dive into Tom and Heather. So if we see this chart here, I organized this by cost. And as you can see, George has set up what he just talked about. We're coming in and, oh man, my eyes. Can you guys see that? My old. Okay.
262.
262.
There we go. All right. Thank you. And so 262, you see that me and Tom, we kind of have similar setups. Tom's got a nicer light and some other cool stuff going on that he'll show you. But 300 range. And then we kind of get up here. We've got Heather, I think a big part of your cost, what is it? It's really more, well, the headset is kind of a bigger ticket item for you, because going to George's point, the headset you thought was important. And then Ray and Wes, I'm going to put you guys in separate tiers, because you've gone away from like the webcam, stream cam thing, and the big thing for you is the camera. Now, you guys also do a lot of stuff on YouTube. And so like if you're doing just video calls with your clients and prospects, maybe you don't need that kind of quality, right? But there's definitely like another level. And I don't know, Wes, do you want to give any other kind of color there in terms of how you made your decisions?
Yeah, I mean, on my end, it's been a journey for me. Like I started with literally just a cell phone and iPhone. If you go back and look at a lot of my LinkedIn videos right before the pandemic hit, I was literally just going to my tiki hut outside. I live in Tampa, and just recording on a phone. So it went from horrible quality to like, maybe I've got an old camera that maybe I should start using that. So I started playing with that. Then it's like my audio is really bad. And so then I would buy a mic, and I just slowly started upgrading things. And, keep in mind, I'm an old photographer and I am on camera, like I said, all day long. So for me to invest a little bit more made more sense. And by the way, I expensed a lot of it. And so that's how I went through that journey, is just slowly getting it. And I'm still playing with it. Like I'm still doing all kinds of different things. To me, it's as much a hobby as anything. It's a creative outlet. And so I have fun with it, but I don't, of course, I know my price was the highest on there. By no means does anybody have to do anything close to that. I just do this because it's so much fun to me. And if I can share knowledge, I'm all about that. And by the way, I think in that document, Jonathan, you shared, I've got that YouTube video where I share everything I've done. So always happy to like help anybody that wants to try to up their game too. And there's always just different levels you can go with, just depending on what you want to spend and the quality you're looking for. And there's no right or wrong to any of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that video is so fantastic because you do a lot of the cool, like before or after stuff. You show like, okay, here's what we got with this camera. You kind of build it up, right? You're like, okay, we're going to introduce some lighting. We're going to do a little bit this and that. And like you take it from, maybe I can find a screenshot in a second, but you take it from kind of a basic level to what we're seeing right now, which is really, really cool. Well, let's come back to you for a second. I'm jumping around a little bit. But Tom, let's talk about you, because you've got kind of a cool journey with all this too. For those who have been joining us for live chats for a while, I mean, Tom, you had a backdrop for a while that was kind of working, but like, look at you now. Like the lighting has improved a lot. You've done a lot with your studio, and not for like a huge amount of money either.
No, yeah, I've gone through. I had a darker background that didn't work well, and then lighting's a problem. I got this, and it's in the links. I got a really large ring light now that's 19 inches, and that seems to make a big difference because I can really, and I have a remote that can change when I need to. But I think the big thing is also a really good mic. Really good mic and really good lighting kind of changed it for me. Jonathan and I are both using these Yeti Nano blue, the blue ones, and that works particularly well. I think. I hope I sound good. I'm not sure. But,
yeah, I mean, I think there's, I think we exist in that level below where I know Wes and Ray, I think, are both using Rode mics and kind of taking it up a level. And you can tell with their voices, I mean, there is a quality where it's absolutely higher quality. But I mean, I think for what we're doing, it's a great first step, right? And it's really pretty inexpensive. I think they're both around like $100, and it's one of the things we're giving away. But yeah, I mean, I've noticed specifically for you, this kind of goes back to the another point with cameras. Wes and Ray really sprung for the DSLR cameras, and we're using webcams. But one thing that really elevated your picture quality, I think, was the lighting. So that's kind of like a quick tip: is like if you can't spring for, you don't want to spring for the thousands of dollars, for cameras, you can really improve a lot with lighting.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the lighting's a lot of it. I think next, though, I'm going to go after the camera because I look at Wes and look how clear his face is. Like, I mean, we all feel like we're a little deficient on the camera side. So I think I'm going to be sending him some look
at gaze upon him. Gaze upon him.
I don't know if I want it that clear. I feel like I'll need a makeup artist in my house, though.
Yeah.
Wes also has are you using OBS, Wes, or what are you using?
I'm just using natural, just the direct camera feed in. You do have, if you're using a digital camera, it won't take the HDMI feed directly. You have to actually interpret it. So I have an Elgato HD 60S Plus. I think it's in my YouTube video. The whole thing's there. But that's great. So you're just looking at literally the raw feed, but I can switch to OBS, or I can switch over to like Snap Camera. Snap Camera is really cool. Yeah. It has, I know, like all the hipsters use it for the overlays, and I actually play around with it on Cybercall a lot too, but it does actually have a standard like enhancement feature. And if I'll play with it here in a second, I'll see if I can get it running. I'll show you before and after with it. But it's kind of a fun way to enhance your stream as well.
Yeah, I used this for a hot second back when the cat lawyer thing was going around. I put a cat filter on my face. That was my extent of it. So yeah, so this is actually, Tom, I going back to you real quick. This is your setup here. You notice that ring light? That's a big ring light, and it's made a big difference.
Huge, yeah. And I had to light it up because this room has no windows on purpose, and then I have it's all wood inside, so I found it was really hard with everything dark like that. I had to really have a lot of light in order to illuminate myself. So that's an easy one too. That even though that light was a little more expensive than most, it was only like 110, and it's made all the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of step back to, why are we doing this? First of all, it's fun to geek out. There's some new toys we can all look at. But I mean, this does make a difference in terms of how you're presenting yourself, right? I mean, when you're showing up on video calls for prospects and even your current clients, I mean, you don't need to go crazy with stuff, but you should be making sure that you're setting a good impression. So Ray, I see Ray, you're in the chat, and we've tried to bring you on. It wasn't working. I'm going to try again, but we'll skip over Ray's setup. It's so cool. Look at that. I love the lighting and everything too. But while we wait for Ray, and it looks like Wes jumped off to maybe play with the filter thing. So there's Wes's setup, which is funny because this is from what we see there. It's so impressive. This is what it looks like from his perspective, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, pretty vanilla, isn't it?
Yeah. Cool. Oh, there you are, Wes. So Wes, I can see. It looks like your video is off, but your audio is obviously on.
Audio's.
Oh,
all right, it's the demo gods not being kind to me.
Oh, there we go.
There it is.
All right, you're back. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about, Wes, with your setup? Maybe like you mentioned that this was an iterative process for you too. You're kind of building on things. Do you have any suggestions for people just getting started?
Yeah, I definitely like if a few things you can do. If you can manage to get semi-clear webcam quality, then you're ready to start jumping to other things. And I'll give you an illustration of this. One of my good friends and colleagues, David Powell, switched over to a digital camera, and his first reaction back to me was like, "Hey, it's not really that much different." And so I was like, let me jump on and let's take a look. And come to find out just where his office is and the window light coming in and just how the room is set up from a lighting perspective, he didn't get like a huge difference in quality. Whereas like where you see me right now, I'm using 100% lights, like LED lights all around me. I have no I have no outdoor lighting at all. And so my point is, you think about before you even go into like investing in stuff, just think about how you want it to look. And you can try it all with a webcam first, right? You can try to be like, hey, I'm going to put, if I have to have window light, let me make sure it's somewhere facing me. And so it's like, it's hard for me to show, but kind of like camera right or camera left at a 45-degree angle. Try to do things like that first. But I actually put blackout shades in front of my window that's here in my office. So there's no foreign light coming in at all. And then I can kind of bring my lights in the way that I want. And so you can do that if you want to, but I would just say before you jump off to like buy stuff, pay attention to your lighting first, and see what you've got, either natural lighting or bring your lighting in. And then you can start upgrading equipment to do things like, better depth of field where you have some bokeh in the background where it's blurred out, all that. Then you can start investing that a camera will help with those things.
Nice. That's awesome. And again, I mean, you cover a lot of this stuff on the on that video that you made, which was great. I did want to bring up one other thing before we kind of move on to our sales portion of the program. And Ray, I'm trying to bring you on, buddy, and it's not working. But hopefully we'll get you on here before we wrap up. So let me pull back up my screen again, because I noticed that there must be something in the air. This is on people's minds. And I saw that another prominent person in the channel who's on YouTube all over the place, Tom Lawrence from Lawrence Systems, right? He actually just shared last week a list of things too. So look at this. So Tom, if you're not familiar with him, man, all over YouTube, he's got, what is it now? It's like 180,000 subscribers.
Yeah, Tom's like my idol. Yeah, I want to be Tom when I grow up.
Ridiculous.
And
so like,
number.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely insane. And so you can check out his YouTube channel if you haven't seen him. He's got an awesome, a whole studio really, and he's included links to all of his things too. So Wes, this maybe actually rival Amazon affiliate link time, but go to Wes because Wes is here. Use his links. But Tom has, a ton of gear here, and I mean, we can just kind of like, let's not look at the video, but let's look at the list here. And again, whoa.
Just lost a viewer.
Oh boy.
Five with the rear.
Oh. There we go. Okay. Oh wait, we lost a viewer. Just lost Tom. Oh yeah. Oof. So Tom, Tom, we love you and we don't want to lose you. And I don't think you need any more affiliate stuff. I think you got it. But look at this. So like, this is amazing. Like, so you put together this awesome, cool studio parts list. The thing I love about Tom too is he's doing everything what everyone here is doing. He's super open about it. That's what I mean by saying that, is that he's very transparent with everything. He shared a cool video that kind of shared his journey too of how he's built things and put them together. He's very accessible. If you reach out and ask him questions, he's definitely going to respond to you. He's a really, really great resource in the channel. So hopefully that won him back from me talking about pushing Wes's affiliate links. So, but yeah, look at this. I mean, he's got a ton of stuff here. And again, this is just kind of like, if you want to start your own YouTube studio and be pumping out content, you could build up to this. Of course, the other side of this is actually having the content, and that's a whole nother discussion that we can maybe get into in another chat. Being consistent and figuring out what you're actually going to be talking about, because equipment is only half the battle, right? So I wanted to pause for a second, let anyone kind of go over to the chat here. If you have any other questions about specific setups, because it would be kind of cool to veer back into, let's talk about this is cool stuff we're building in the studio. Maybe you do have plans on doing more video marketing, putting together a series. Maybe you want to do more videos for LinkedIn. Here's a lot of good, helpful stuff to kind of give you some ideas and equipment. But let's take it back to even something more immediate, and that is getting onto sales calls. And I'm going to try to bring Ray on one more time. One more time, Ray. Ray, we'll have to get you back on at a future point, because Ray does have a cool setup and lots of good advice here too. He's in the chat. Yeah. Okay, cool. I will do that then. So I'm going to take down the screen share and invite him on. But while I'm doing that, George, why don't we go back to you and tell us a little bit about your sales call. So you got into it a little bit at the top of the
Sure.
session here. But you mentioned it's kind of evolved, and you guys have created some materials. You got a process around it.
Right.
You want to talk about, just at a high level, kind of what your calls look like?
Oh, sure. I mean, as I said, like the original MSP sales call was this like visit to the office, to their person's office. Let's to talk in their conference room or their office for a couple minutes, take a look at their server closet or whatever they consider. Oh, hey, Ray. And then it becomes this kind of like dance around like how bad or good the old IT guy was and that sort of stuff. And now I feel that it's gotten a lot more about trying to steer it from this like that kind of like, hey, they're doing a bad job, or to a more strategic conversation. I can tell you that of the two of the last three logos we added to Valiant were started out as security conversations. No one's coming because they want to have no one really wants to improve their whatever rollout of new desktops. That's not really a question anymore. The Windows 7 deployments, those days are long gone, right? So it's more a matter of people are asking questions about security. They want to know if can you work with us? Can you help us? Do you have the knowledge and or the vertical skill set to address that specific vertical? And I think that it's really important that you have that kind of in your pocket, right? Like and I think that the buyer, while they're more willing to have the conversation on video, is more sophisticated because they know they're looking at something very specific. In the past, they might have just taken a call for like, hey, maybe I'm not happy with my IT, or they screwed up a backup or something happened. But now they're getting we're seeing a lot in our verticals that they're being asked to do very in-depth security attestations. They're getting hammered by their clients, and so they're getting nervous and they're looking for help. And they're asking if you can do that with them. I'm sure Wes lives this day in, day out and for Perch. And so we just developed we developed a process around a questionnaire, some operational maturity level kind of pieces where we want to know are they just kind of like they really know what they want, and then just kind of qualifying on this video and being genuine. And I think the other part of it is being kind of like, hey, there's no difference between me sitting here with you than if I was sitting in your office, right? You could be on vacation or you could be away or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Like your business has moved to like this kind of decentralized situation. So why should our sales process be centralized, if that makes any sense? So, I really think that's kind of the big change. And a lot of it too is prep for the meeting, if not more so than you prepped before, right? Do your research, know who they are, who their customers are, try to understand why they called you or why they're taking a meeting with you in a way that they hadn't in the past. In the past, you go to a meeting kind of like, I'd say, less prepared. I think preparation is more important. Have your collateral and stuff ready to go. So when you're done, you can have something to send. And not to say that everyone knows this in sales, but follow up. Don't think the video changed any part of the fundamentals, right? The best do the basics better. And I think this is even more so that you have to do that. So you follow your game plan, follow your process. And, when you're on video, just treat it exactly like as if you were in a across the table meeting. Set your camera up the right way so you're looking at the person, and don't get distracted. I see so many people kind of veer off into some kind of weird place, or they're checking their cell phone. Like, would you do that in a sales call? A real sales call? No, you're invested in each other. And I think if you can practice that and get that across, that's a really powerful thing to do. So that helps.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely great. And I want to ask a couple more specific questions before
Sure.
I do. I obviously want to welcome Ray and Wes. I'm actually I see your videos off. I know your audio's on. I'm gonna set you. I'm gonna say goodbye to you for just a second. I'll bring you right back on at the end.
No
if
worries.
That's okay. Okay, cool. Well, thank you, Wes and Ray.
Hey,
sir.
how you doing?
Good.
So sorry about that.
No, it's okay. So, look at you. You're on the road. And wait, okay, first of all, I think we have to address some things in your background. This isn't like your home, right?
No, this
Okay.
is not my home. And that was part of the headache, was that we decided last minute to take a trip. So this is a Disney-themed house. It's actually Haunted Mansion themed. And I was getting everything set up for here and for the tech bar tonight. Yeah.
Very nice. And yes, absolutely, Tech Bar tonight. You guys should check that out. Is that a popcorn machine behind you? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, there's a popcorn machine behind me. There's a ticket booth over there. No Zoltar, so that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I think the piano to the right, off camera, actually plays by itself. It's pretty cool.
Amazing. Well, for those of you who aren't familiar, Ray, he is CEO at OITVOIP. And very active. We've had him on. That's right. I'm impressed by this already, Ray. So we've had you on a ton of live chats. This is a different background than what people are used to seeing. If you go to the doc, everyone, you can see what Ray's setup usually looks like. But this is very cool. You're on the road, and your picture's looking great. So what are
Thanks.
maybe because we do want to talk about some of the sales stuff. You want to quickly kind of go over highlights of
Yeah, absolutely. So being on the road, and the whole reason, we agreed to keep doing this, even though I was on the road today, was that, the point is you can still look good no matter where you're going to be at. It just takes a little bit of practice, right? And a little bit of preparation. This is not the $4,000 camera that Wes is using, although I'm very jealous. If I can convince my wife, I will be picking one up. But, just carrying a camera with you with a nice lens. I don't have the benefit of my Procaster with me, so I'm actually using a shotgun mic, Rode, just like Wes uses. Or if it's a sound constrained environment, I'll use a little lav mic. It's not a big deal. And it's just set some stuff up, find some tables. I'll show you real quick because Jonathan did want to see the behind the scenes. This is the ridiculousness I have set up. I have a bunch of tables. I have my camera set up over here on a chair, right? Wow. And all that just so you can do this. But the point is you can do it anywhere. You don't need some ridiculous setup like I have in my office. The office is fun, but anybody that's done this can tell you. And we were just talking to Tom. The setup is never finished, right? It's always tweaking little things, adding little things. Sean just added a new mic. I actually brought 3 mics because I was going to use my Blue Yeti just in case, but I ended up using something else. bring spares. The fun part is when you spend all time doing this in your office, you have tons of spares of everything.
Yep.
Because you won't buy one of anything. So yeah, that's basically it.
This is awesome. How about setting up there? I mean, did you do anything in terms of like lighting or things you're trying to kind of avoid?
So direct lighting is really hard. Now I have windows above me so I kind of like scooted back a little bit so I don't have natural light. Wes talked about this a little bit too. Windows are not your friend unless you can control it with drapery, or in my office I have blackout curtains. So I do have lighting that I'm using here. I have and I'm an old AV guy, old DJ stage guy, so I
Nice.
keep spares of everything. But I have one of these set up, a nice light panel with barn doors so I can address lighting. You don't have to have that. You can carry one of these. I love these. These are $65, super powerful. You put them on a little clamp or on a little stand, and you can put them anywhere, and they give you great light, or a ring light.
And what are those, Ray? Can we get a?
These are the. I'll include the link so you can put it on the dock. But these are little credit card sized lights. These are actually RGB. So if you watch a tech bar tonight, you'll see I'll use these for accent lighting. Since I don't need direct lighting, I'll use it for accent lighting on the other stuff. And when I'm in my office or when I can control light, all the light is actually not natural. I turn off everything overhead. I turn off everything around me. The lighting is exactly what I've created. And these actually get really bright. They power off USB. I'm not going to shine it into the camera. And they're really great. And then it's just lights, camera, action, literally.
Well, it looks amazing, and thank you so much for taking time out of the vacay to come on and show off things. Before we hand things over back to Sean and George and Heather and Tom to talk about sales, DJ name? Did you have one that you can share?
I should not have opened my mouth. Yeah, the DJ name is Quest, KWEST, because that's when you're 15, that's what you do. Yeah, and that carried with me for almost 10 or 12 years. So yeah.
So were you pre-Quest? What is it, Questlove or post? Were you
No,
the first one or the second?
So pre-Quest, well, Questlove was doing it since he was a teenager, but I think we're roughly the same age. So I will say I was not aware of him when I started. But yeah.
There you go. Well, we're gonna have to revive Quest, I feel like. At some point, maybe Tech Bar.
Maybe another on Tech Bar. Danny keeps trying to get me to do some mixing live, so maybe on the Tech Bar if I get enough drinks in me.
Oh my God. Okay, Ray, thank you again so much, and just a call out back to that doc, everybody. So Ray has written up. We got all the links to some of the equipment he's using. He's also, like the guy he is, he already had all this stuff documented. I asked Ray a couple weeks ago, I was like, hey, do you have a list of like the equipment you use? And you're like, yeah, let me send you this. And he sent me a post that's like not only the equipment list, but tips for setup and lighting and all that stuff. Documentation.
Yeah, and if anybody ever wants, you need a third eye or a second set of eyes to really appreciate what you're doing, because you get blind to it when you're setting your own stuff up. If anybody wants, ping me. I'm happy to sit there and walk you through and help you, where you want to position your lights, if you want to do key fill, accent, if you want to do, depending on what you're working with. I love doing that stuff. I'll nerd out with you. We'll figure it out. So
nice.
Yeah.
Take them up on it. Ray, thank you again.
No, thanks for bearing with me, and I'll let you get back to the sales stuff, the important stuff now. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Ray. So Heather, going back to what George was kind of saying with some of these, really making that transition to video sales calls. This is obviously something that has come up with partners that you've worked with at Bitdefender, and you guys recently did a sales training. You put it together. You're just launching it now. We're going to be able to share that through Ninja too, which is pretty cool. So anyone who's interested can reach out to me, or we can follow up with some emails out to partners too about it. But do you want to talk a little bit about kind of what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so basically we saw a gap of people not necessarily knowing how to leverage all the different platforms out there to truly engage with people. So we wanted to build a training where we could go out and train our partners to train their partners to go and sell more effectively in the future, and really be able to engage with people in a more genuine way. And just sort of to tie into what was said before, make sure you are not doing those faux pas that people don't think about. Are you checking your phone? Are you just running through? I sort of calling for a death to PowerPoint. Not that you don't do it, but don't use traditional PowerPoint. So are you going through a slide deck, or are you doing a virtual whiteboard where you're engaging with it together? Are you asking, and there's one in our polls, are you asking $1 billion question? And that was mentioned earlier. So are you asking questions where you can identify gaps you can fill and really customize that conversation based off of what you're finding? So the training we put together really teaches you all those tools, goes through some basics from equipment needs. How far should the camera be from you? Because that's something people don't think about. How do you use your hands? There's an interesting stat that when you look at TED Talks, the TED Talks that average 7.4 million views have an average of 465 hand gestures. When you look at the ones with 124,000, which still is a lot of views for most people, but for TED Talks, not so much, only 272 hand gestures. So even though we're on video, you can't be a robot. Like you literally shouldn't be a talking head. So those are just some of the things that we teach in the training. And then we actually go through an example, which this is where Bitdefender does get brought into it. But we go through an example of what an interactive whiteboard actually looks like and how you're building a story and not pitching, and how you're customizing it on the fly.
That's great. And I want to give Sean a chance I'll introduce him and give him a chance to add some things to that. But before we do, really quickly, a question from Alex Farling from Lifecycle. Hey, Alex. He's asking, what product do you recommend for virtual whiteboarding? And part of that is that there's the prize that we're giving away, right? The tablet. But are you using something else with that?
So the tablet is how you're actually gonna draw on the screen, like where you're literally gonna draw. But there are a couple tools. So the way we're actually building it in our training is teaching people how to use PowerPoint as a whiteboard, because everybody's familiar with PowerPoint. You can build a deck you can interact and draw with. However, there are some tools that through building this class we found. One is Micro for meetings and workspaces. Or workshops, sorry. And that actually is a tool that's free, and you can actually build like a sticky note chart, and the other person that you're meeting with can add their sticky notes. You can draw on it together, and then you share it after the meeting. So where we normally would get up to a whiteboard and maybe have color-coded sticky notes that we're mapping out what we're trying to do together, you can do that virtually with a tool like that. And then if you use Teams does have the whiteboard application built into it. I will say, based off of the work we've done, we actually found the PowerPoint tool to be cleaner just because you're already in that and most people are familiar with it, but you can use Teams. And then the last one is if you're using Zoom, you can actually connect your iPad to Zoom and you can draw on it. So it just depends on the tool you're using, but there is a ton out there. I know that was a very long-winded answer.
It's funny. We have we've been keeping count. People in the chat have been keeping count of hand gestures there.
Oh,
so
really? How am I doing?
You're doing great. It's like up to, I think, 192. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
No, that's great. I mean, that's something I'm definitely eager, once we have some of that training materials we can share with people, because that's a really cool example, is another idea of making these things more interactive. So to that end, Sean Lardo from OIT, how you doing, sir?
Hello. Never better. Getting ready for this evening's tech bar. We were at the brewery a little bit ago, just trying to get warmed up for this call, actually. So we're doing great.
There you go. So in addition to, some liquid courage, do you have any other suggestions for people in terms of getting on, making virtual sales calls, especially that initial hump, right? Like, how do you break the ice? How do you make it not awkward, uncomfortable, all that stuff? Any tips there?
That's actually a great question. I've been doing virtual sales and working globally for 15 years at this point. So this is pretty much basic standard stuff for me. However, it was very difficult in the early days because breaking the ice is so hard. It's about getting yourself in a comfort zone. One thing people really need is that interaction in person, to see the body gestures, shake hands and whatnot like that. You're not going to get that, right? You don't have that luxury at this point. So you have to be willing. Well, so you can see like my background. I personalize everything. I humanize. They should know I have a family because you have a family, or you have a dog, or you like to drink like I like to drink, or whatever it is. Again, you're looking for things that are going to break the ice and put you on common ground. You put yourself there, it becomes more of a conversation. We're here to build a relationship. You know, we say sales, but long before sales occurs, you have to have some sort of a relationship of some sort that makes you a trusted advisor, or a friend. It's the same as your car broke down. Who should I talk to? Your dad says, go talk to the mechanic, Joe down the street. He's the guy, right? And it should feel just that comfortable. So be yourself. Don't be on edge. Don't be an Alex Farling that is in a prison cell, with his back white wall. It's okay. People know you have a life outside of this. And now, I don't know, remember that video that came out a while back? The guy that was on CNN or something, and his kid came running in, and the little toddler came running in, and then all of a sudden the woman comes in and grabs the kid and runs out. That's priceless. That's exactly what we're living these days. So you might as well have it happen, and you might as well own it too. Because again, I have children, so I see that and I'm like, oh, this guy's pretty cool. He has kids like me. At least we have a relatable conversation. The other thing is just start doing it. Stop hiding from it. Your poll question about how many of your calls are virtual.
Yep.
100% of my calls are virtual. 100% of my calls, we're always on video. We have a company policy that anything you do is on video, internally and externally. Especially start internally if you're uncomfortable, because then it gets you started. You start looking at your camera and you're like, oh man, my background looks horrible. Oh my God, my camera is bad. My lighting is bad. And for me, I redid my whole attic here for my office. And this is my winter office. I have a summer office. If anybody saw me early on, you saw me in my other office, which has natural lighting, by the way. My desk is in front of the window. Perfect lighting. Here, the window's behind me. I just hung those curtains a couple weeks ago because it was I had a halo and I looked great from the back. And yeah, Ray's already saying that. I change locations on the regular. Again, because I've been working globally for so long before I was homebound mostly, I was traveling. So I'd be at an airport. If I had a call, I had to take the call. I couldn't avoid that. Right. So again, I would look around the airport and say, where can I sit? They can see people behind me, but where can I sit that they can see me though too? And it looks at least presentable and welcoming to some degree. Actually, even at coffee shop lighting is great. Go by the window, face the window, have the video on you. And also, by the way, those are all human elements. Everybody goes to freaking Starbucks. I don't care who you are. You've been to Starbucks once. No big deal.
Yeah, this is such a good really, really good points about the humanizing aspect of it. And this is something that jumped out to me when I was talking with, I think Tom and I were talking with you and Ray last week. And of course, Ray, it came up in the comments, right? People remember Ray's setup where he's got Star Wars stuff everywhere. And Ray is not, okay, Ray is a Star Wars fan. That's legitimate. He's born May the 4th is his birthday, right? And so a huge Star Wars fan. That's completely legitimate. He likes this stuff. But he also said, it's deliberate that I put stuff back there. It's conversation starters, exactly what you're saying. And I hadn't thought about that at all. Look, I got nothing. I give people nothing. I'm a blank wall. But
you did well.
It's a very interesting
on the
point,
tech bar though. When you were on the tech bar, you had a cool background. Well, depending on what time of the tech bar we were talking, because you went grocery shopping, came back with milk while we were talking. Yeah. So, but you're absolutely right. You should have something to showcase something. And Tom, your background is infinitely better than it was. Yep. Before, I thought you were a mafia guy and you were going to have me swim with the fishes. And now I think you probably make maple syrup in your cabin, and which is far more welcoming. I want to talk to you way more. But yes, it is important to do that. But going back even into the sales process itself, we can have all the great lights and we can have all the video and all that stuff. But if you don't have a process and if you don't sell with intent and have conversations with intent, it's irrelevant to anything. And Heather, you mentioned the point about the PowerPoint, right? You should do PowerPoint first just for basics. If you don't do anything, at least do something, right? At least have a structure. And that's one thing we see all the time with MSPs especially, is not the lack of preparation for the conversation. Yeah. Where we in sales, to build a relationship, just like when you started dating your spouse or your boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever you're with, you had to ask questions and listen to them. And then you had to repeat back to have a conversation, because if you said nothing, you were not interested. Same rules apply with clients and prospects, especially with prospects for the first time. Shut up, ask them questions, let them talk, and then recite what they said, say those things. And then if you don't have to have the solution today, but you should be able to say, I can help you. Let me get some things, let me get my thoughts together and present back what I heard more formalized. Now you bring a PowerPoint presentation. That way you're just not presenting and talking and talking and talking. You actually are hitting the points that they said, their top 3 reasons why they need you in their life. And you say those things and you show it how you do it, and you give them references on things. Actually, Anthony was on there saying, what should I do about marketing and not just having referral-based things? The fact of the matter is, if I said to you today, I work with somebody just like you, and you might know him, he's down the street, he's also this, and this is what he has experienced, and this is how we solve his issue. And if I can show that amongst my expertise and my background in a formalized approach, and it still can be friendly, still can be humanized, I've listened, I presented a potential solution, and we can actually talk business.
Right.
You know, again, for all of you that have been doing this for years, most of my conversation with somebody, 60% is actually just getting to know somebody. Yeah. Talking about simple things like the weather, the kids, the whatever. That way they know you're somebody like them. And then it's talking about the business. And if you're so good at that, you can knock it down to almost 20% of business talk and 80% shooting the shit, lack of a better term.
I'm going to go 100% on that. I have a long-term client, probably one of our best clients at Valiant, that we've worked with over 10 years. And he's a big gearhead. And so I'm also fairly big gearhead. And probably of an hour call we have every, say, 2-3 weeks, it's about 75% cars and what we're doing. And it's whatever car stuff and hey, this, that, and the other thing. And then it's like, hey, you want to do that thing about that security thing? And he's like, yeah, man, how much does that cost? Yeah, it's this much. All right, fine, let's just get it done. And it's literally, awesome. and that's if you can get that point, that's really the power. But you have to know each other and find out what people like, and not in a disingenuous way, like slimy way. More like, hey man, like if someone's really into opera, I'm not going to portray myself as an opera expert, right? Like just to say it out loud, it's not, obviously you can probably tell I'm not an opera expert, but I think it's really as when they like be genuine, and that 100% genuine who you are, and you sort of gravitate to those people organically. The universe aligns that way, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. George, who's your favorite opera singer? Quest. I think Quest is a great. Yeah.
Quest on the Wheels of Steel. With the air horn. So anyway, yeah, exactly.
So we are right at 2 here. Maybe we can hang on for a couple minutes because I just want to do some closing remarks here. But a couple of questions before I realize some people are already have to jump. Thank you, everyone who does have to jump right now. Really awesome to have everybody active in the chat as always. So a couple of questions that came up, and I think we kind of addressed them, but I want to make sure we hit them up. The first one is from Heath, and is it unprofessional to have those Easter eggs or personal items in the background? I think we just answered that, right, with Sean. I mean, at least you're recommending absolutely the opposite, right? You should totally do it within reason.
Tasteful. I think you draw tastefulness.
Yeah. Let's be clear, because it's probably the best time even about this is when you talk about political stuff, right? That's obviously you don't go that route. But as far as human elements of families, of commonality of things of sorts, I mean, not a problem. People prefer that. Again, because you don't get to walk into their office. They don't get to see you in person. They don't get to see that, what if you have like your class ring from your alma mater, and they're like, oh, my cousin went there. They get to see those things when you walk in person. You don't have that. So, and nobody is mad at me that my daughter's pictures are all over there. And nobody's mad that I have silly stuff and like hostess cake signs, because everybody, if you don't like hostess cakes, there's something wrong with you. Let's be honest. But nobody cares about that. I never got somebody yelling at me about like, I'm so offended by that hosted cake sign. You should really do something about that. You look kind of chubby these days, Sean. Nobody's saying that. So yeah, no, it's a good thing. Just, obviously don't be ridiculous about it. No, but Heather Margulis, her and I had a conversation. If you don't know who she is, she's phenomenal at marketing. She was like, when she set up her background, she asked me, she's like, hey, should I put my kids drawing there? I was like, absolutely, you should. Why not? It's your home. Nobody expects us to have a dedicated office. Every single person have a dedicated office, especially when you have children. No room is your room. Every room is their room. You get a drawer and they get the rest. That's basically how it works. So it's a good thing to have.
All right,
I think the other thing,
oh,
sorry, I was
ahead,
gonna say, I think the other thing you can look at is virtual backgrounds and how to have fun with those as well. I know me personally, like even internally, whenever I get on a call with somebody, they're going to guess the movie or TV show that I have as my background now, but it's like a conversation starter at the beginning of the meeting. Obviously, you have to have a relationship with somebody to do that, but it makes it a bit of a game, and it really kicks every meeting off with something fun. So that's something to think about incorporating too.
Heather, you're going to have to send me some links so we can include some photos of your backgrounds in the doc, because you have some legendary backgrounds that are awesome.
And I just got shamed because I've used the same one again. So I just downloaded a bunch more.
Oh, man. All right. I love it. Okay, guys, one other question, and then we'll have to wrap up here. What about, so we're talking about improving our setup. Is there anything we can do to help with the other person's setup, whether that's the clients, obviously, I mean, there's some things you can do, or prospects? How much of, I guess, is the good that we're doing here going to be limited by that kind of thing? And Wes brought in some context there. Thank you, Wes, for doing that in the ask a question. Any thoughts there, though?
I could tell you from my perspective, just with our clients, we absolutely recommend them a range of headsets that are useful for Teams, Zoom, VoIP providers. Like, hey, these work really well. They're field tested. We use them ourselves, that sort of thing, just to kind of be like, hey, or I know if it's someone you trust or like, you say, hey, you sound really not great on that call. And that becomes like, it's like almost like when someone has like their button misbuttoned or something like that. You want to kind of be like a little bit, hey, I noticed you didn't look great, or can I help you with that? I think that's perfectly fine. Just doing a little small service can be helpful.
Absolutely. Okay.
I think it's a marketing opportunity too. If you have the budget for it, why not send out a branded headset? So every time they put it on their head, they're thinking about you. So that's something you can look at too from a branding standpoint.
100%.
Hey, Ray, you heard that? Ray, make sure you heard that.
Okay, guys, what about screens on for video? So this came up when we were talking last week, Sean. What do you do when you're talking with a prospect and their screen's on? Do you give them a nudge or what? Like, and you always start off with your screen on, right? Always.
Screen is always on. There's the nonverbal communication that occurs, right? And the conversation we were having was, a lot of times I go on the first call with somebody and we're talking business, and they'll see my video on. So like, oh, okay, I'll put mine. And I'm like, hey, I don't see you. And maybe they're like, oh, I forgot to turn my video on, right? And that's just the benefit of the doubt, right? However, I know if the next call, when we're supposed to sign an agreement, if they don't turn their video on, I already know they're not signing the agreement because they don't want to look at me when they say no or avoid the topic. So I have no problem with calling that out and saying, I'm assuming because your video's not on that you're not signing the agreement. That's why you're not showing me your face. And they start laughing, and it at least breaks that ice to go right into the conversation, because I'm not here to waste their time. I don't waste my time either because I'm busy. They're busy. So, and that'll also get the objection out of the way too. So back to selling with intent. Yeah, we're cool. I like you. If we don't do business, fine. I'm not going to be, we're not all meant for each other. That's fine, but we're going to be mad about it. But let's get to the point. But yeah, video should always be on, be presentable. Cause again, I want them to see I'm a real person. And everybody knows that we have this stuff. So for you not to do it, and plus I'm in communications. Oh my God. If I'm going to do I do VoIP, but hey, I'm not turning my video on. I'm not, no. Yeah. What is that? So absolutely video with every call all the time. Sometimes some people don't even get on the video the whole time, and I'm there for an hour talking to them, and I'm looking at myself, and I'm like, I really hate this, but I'm like, shoot, good thing I have my beard brushed because I'm looking, right, hooking it out, right? Yeah, look, see, that's a nice beard, by the way.
Well, guys, we've run over time here. Before we wrap up, I just want to call attention to what's coming next. So first of all, and actually, prize winner. I hope this person's still on, because I got Sammy, our marketing coordinator, to send me a name at random from the attendees. Let's see what she sent me. Sammy says he is. So Nigel, Ziad, are you here? Are you in the virtual room? Are you in the virtual building? Well,
Jonathan, Sean's still here. Sean needs a new webcam.
I know. Here's where we tee up everybody else. Yeah. So Nigel, you are the winner. we're going to reach out to you, sir. You have won our streaming kit here, which includes the Logitech Stream Cam, the Blue Yeti mic, a ring light, and courtesy of Bitdefender, this cool tablet. So Heather can follow up and when she lets us know about some of their tips around the virtual whiteboarding and things like that, you can actually have that to use. So congratulations, Nigel. Thank you, everybody else. Even if you didn't win, there's always next time, right? And hopefully this was the real prize was the journey that we just had together. And let's keep the journey going. So next live chat, which is in 2 weeks. So not next Thursday, but the following Thursday. We're lockstep with Tech Bar in that schedule. We're going to be talking about continuing the sales and marketing stuff, right? So we're going to go for DIY marketing collateral, and we're going to have a couple of guys, JP Rowe from Your Sales Energy and Kevin Clune from MSP Growth Hacks, and we're going to do live like workshopping. So basically, it's going to be kind of like choose your own adventure style. Like you guys pick topics. We're going to have a selection of things that you can choose from, and we're going to actually create collateral on the fly. And we're going to use Canva. We're going to use some tools and show you what we're using. And the whole idea is like, let's show you some basic things you can do. This stuff doesn't have to be that hard. And this should be a good time. And then the last note here is we've also got a Slack group. So this is in the doc. We can share the link to the doc one more time. But yeah, jump in the Slack group if you get a chance. It's great to have the conversation going then too. Guys, thank you so much again for joining. I'm going to run through the lineup here. Wes, I'll bring you back on too so you can say adios. But Tom, any parting words from you, sir?
No, thanks everyone. This is great. I learned a lot too. I'm going to be upgrading my camera. And also thank you, Sammy, for working on the back end for us.
As always. And George, thank you so much again for coming on and sharing your perspective in the trenches.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great being here. It was really meeting you all in this format. It's really exciting and learning a lot about it. And just I came away with some tips here that I'm going to bring back to the lab. And we'll hopefully see some good stuff come out of it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And make sure to check out Valiant. I mean, they're doing a ton of really interesting stuff on the marketing side. So check out their site. Check out their live streams. I think you'll be inspired by some of the stuff they're doing. You guys are doing some really, really cool stuff.
Thanks, Jonathan.
And Heather, thanks again for joining. Looking forward to hearing more about the training stuff coming down the road.
Definitely. And I'm going to do a shameless plug.
Oh, go for it.
So if anybody out there thinks they're beyond awesome, because we know they are, reach out to us because we're always looking for guests. So
nice.
It's an open invitation if anybody wants to ping me on LinkedIn. Yeah,
Nigel, you're going to have to put that gear to good work. You can jump on with Heather. Sean, thank you, sir. And thank you, Ray. Thank Ray on your behalf too.
Yeah, thanks, Ray, on Jonathan's behalf. Heather Simon, our communication manager, will be reaching out to you. So
awesome.
I am
looking forward to it.
Yeah, I already told him before you even offered the invitation, so we were going to start stalking. Yes, thank you for actually on it. I want to say this. Thanks for being part of everything with us too, guys. Ninja Arm has been a good supporter of us, and we love doing this with you guys. We love doing things in general. Even if you guys don't know, Jonathan's the freeze tag champion, and there's a backstory to that we can get into some other time. But thank you for having us on, even with Ray being on location. And just keeping us involved. This was great. We're here to do whatever anybody needs any help with. And honestly, if you guys don't know what we do, we stay active with all MSPs. We focus heavily on MSPs, and we give out a lot of free advice as well for anything, even if you don't do business with us. This community is important to us, it's important to you guys, and none of us are multi-billionaires yet, so we all kind of need each other. So leverage us, please, and we'll leverage you.
Awesome. And let's gaze upon him one last time. Wes, thank you so much for taking time out. I know you're super busy. This is so great to have you here.
Well, this is way more fun than all the cybersecurity stuff I do. So when you asked me to do this, I'm like, heck yeah, this would be like super fun. So I love geeking out over stuff like this. We'll have some commonality here. But yeah, thanks for having me. Jonathan, thanks to you especially for setting it up. This has been fun. And I guess my shameless self-plugs, you can definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. If you guys have questions for me, reach out anytime. I'm happy to help. Also, you can see me on YouTube. It's just youtube.com/Wes Spencer. And then pretty active as well on the Cyber Call as well, which is also on Crowdcast, which is a great platform. That's where we just talk about cybersecurity for MSPs. It's a great way to get your learning going. That's just crowdcast.io/e/cybercall, I think is what it is. So I'd love to see you there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Links in the doc to that for sure. This year, there's been a lot to talk about already. The cybersecurity.
Oh man, we're buried right now with the exchange stuff going on. We're just buried.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Well, you guys are doing a service, and as are all of you guys. And I'll thank you one more time, and then let's sign off here. So, guys, thank you once again. I hope this inspires you. Go out, even if you don't buy tons of crazy equipment, go out and just start making some videos, trying things out, getting out there and learning. And hopefully this helps. But thanks, everybody.
Awesome.
Have a good one.
Thanks, Bye now.
Thanks so
We'll
much.
see you next time.
Bye all.